Coming up on Sports Paws, women's lacrosse takes on Canisius. We'll bring in our analyst to take you through the matchup. We also show you what softball did this past weekend and let you know about the history made in their most recent game. All that and more, coming up on Sports Paws.
Well, you know, Morey, it sure is getting hot outside, especially on all the fields around campus.
Tom, you talk about heating up. Sports Paws is red hot and ready to go. I'm Morey Hershgordon alongside my partner, Tom Albanese. And Tom, what would you say has been the hottest story around campus thus far this week?
Well, you know, Morey, the hottest story definitely happened this afternoon as history was made in Riverdale, New York for the Quinnipiac softball team. Junior Hannah Lindsley tossed the first no-hitter for Quinnipiac softball since the move to Division I back in 1998. Only one walk and one hit batsman kept Lindsley from throwing a perfect game. Coach Jill Korowski had this to say on the milestone, quote, "Hannah's accomplishment on the mound alongside a record-breaking weekend by our offense is just a taste of what this team is capable of doing. I am proud of everyone on the team for their continuous hard work, buy-in, and competitiveness. I'm excited to see how the next few weeks play out," end quote.
The Quinnipiac softball team lost their conference opener at Manhattan last Saturday 6-1. On Wednesday, they encountered in-state rival Fairfield for a two-game set. And the Quinnipiac Bobcats are taking on Fairfield in the first game of their doubleheader. We pick it up in the third inning. It's Sammy Ruffalo at the plate. She puts down a perfect drag bunt and with her speed beats the play at first. The runner advances to third. Runners are on the corner for the Stags. With Sydney Roby on the mound and runners on second and third, it's Sam Frungillo at the plate, and she reaches on an error by the first baseman. The Stags are up 2-0. In the bottom of the fourth, Sydney Roby helps her cause. She had her potassium before the game as she sends one over the fence, cuts the Stags' lead to 2-1. We'll bring it into the top of the fifth inning with Kristen Felicia on second base. It's Lauren Lyseth who singles up the middle. The Stags run will score and they extend the lead to 3-1. Bottom of the fifth though, Katie Alfieri hits one to left center. Alfieri gets on second with the double. It's Molly Jarrett who gets to third. Bobcats are threatening in the bottom of the fifth. Then with them on second base, it's Abby Johnson hits a sac fly to left field. Jarrett scores. Quinnipiac cuts the deficit to 3-2. And then just minutes later, it's Courtney Schultz singles and the run scores. Quinnipiac ties the game at 3. The home team looking to possibly win this game. But in the seventh inning, the Stags are up 6-5, and it's Felicia on second base. It's Ray Ball for Fairfield who hits the double, bringing in Felicia to extend the lead. Fairfield would go on to defeat Quinnipiac 7-5. Quinnipiac is 3-20 overall, 0-2 in the match.
Now, Morey, after the Bobcats nearly came out with a victory in Game 1, the second game of the doubleheader was a completely different story. The Stags scored 9 runs through the first 2 innings and ended up defeating Quinnipiac 10-0 in 5 innings. On the offensive side, 5 different Stags drove in a run. Fairfield's Rebecca Trott dominated the Bobcat lineup, limiting them to no runs on 3 hits and 8 strikeouts. The 2 losses against Fairfield put Quinnipiac on a 4-game losing streak. They look to end that streak against another regional foe, the Huskies of Yukon. And like I mentioned, Quinnipiac trying to get back on the winning end as they take on the Huskies of Yukon. We're going to start at the bottom of the third inning where Katie Alfieri's on second and Nikki Barber's at the plate. And she's going to hit a double to left center field. And Alfieri is going to score. And that's going to tie the game at 1-1. Now staying in the third inning, the bases are loaded now for Quinnipiac. It's Danny Edmonds, and she's going to single through the right side. Sydney Roby and Nikki Barber are going to score. And on this play, the Bobcats extend their lead 5-1. Going into the bottom of the 6th, Courtney Schultz on second And Nikki Barber's again at the plate, and she hits a high fly ball, deep left field, and that is out of here. It's a home run, and that's her third home run of the season. Courtney Salt scores on the play, so it's a 2-run home run for Nikki Barber, and the Bobcats extend their lead 7-2. And as she celebrates with her teammates, we're going to go right into the top of the 7th, where the bases are now loaded for UConn. Katie Alfieri is going to issue a walk to Taylor Townsend. Huskies starting to make it interesting. Quinnipiac's lead at 7-4, and now later, UConn's Heather Fife is going to single, and UConn scoring 8 runs in the 7th inning, and they've taken a 10-7 lead. But the comeback became a reality for the Quinnipiac Bobcats as Nikki Barber again singles to left field, scoring the game-winning run, and they have made the 4-run comeback. The Quinnipiac Bobcats win the game 11-10. The Bobcats continued their season on the road over the weekend, playing 5 games in just 3 days. They began their road trip against St. Peter's, where the Bobcats defeated the Peacocks 6-3 in Game 1 and 16-4, playing 5 innings in Game 2. Jordan Palucci led the Bobcats, driving in a combined 9 runs in both games against the Peacocks. Nikki Barber, along with Palucci, both hit home runs in the second game. On Sunday, Quinnipiac played a doubleheader against Ryder. They fought hard in Game 1, but suffered an 8-7 loss. They turned the table in Game 2, winning 12-1 in just 5 innings. The Bobcats also picked up a win today at Manhattan due to the no-hitter thrown by Hannah Lindsley. Aside from Lindley's performance, Jordan Palucci blasted a solo home run, her team leading 7th of the year.
The Quinnipiac men's lacrosse team traveled to Stony Brook Tuesday night in a non-conference matchup following a 10-9 overtime win at Detroit. Neither Stony Brook nor Quinnipiac had more than a 1-goal lead the entire game, but it was Quinnipiac who came out on top. With the game tied at 11, freshman Ryan Keenan put home the game winner for Quinnipiac with just under 7 minutes left. The Bobcats closed the game out and earned the 12-11 victory. They were back on the road Saturday to face the winless Monmouth Hawks. Quinnipiac was led by Dylan Webster and Ryan Keenan, who each scored 5 goals as the Bobcats cruised to a 17-8 victory, marking their 3rd straight win of the season. The win gives Quinnipiac sole possession of 2nd place in the MAC standings. They will be back in action on Saturday at noon as they face Canisius at home.
Now another in action, the Quinnipiac Acrobatics and Tumbling team defeated Alderson, Brodas, and Fairmont State in their final tri-meet before the NCATA National Tournament. The Bobcats won the meet with a combined season-high score of 281.89. They were able to win 5 of the 6 events in the meet. After the meet, head coach Marianne Powers said, quote, "We are right where we need to be. We are hitting our spots and our focus is there," end quote. Quinnipiac will close out their 2014 season in Azusa, California, starting on Thursday, April 24th.
We are going to take a break on Sports Paws, but when we come back, the women's lacrosse team continued its season against Monmouth and Canisius. Arthur Bailin is live in the studio to discuss how they performed. Also, both the men's and women's tennis teams are rising in the MAC. Find out who has led both teams over the last week.
The Bobcat Shop,
Stay tuned.
located at 1010 Sherman Avenue in Hamden. Your #1 choice for Bobcat merchandise. The Bobcat Shop features 2 floors of countless styles and colors. With a full 19,000 square foot screen printing and embroidery operation on the premises, Campus Customs and Simplify can design and decorate any garment or promotional product as quickly as needed. Stop in and say hi.
I could really go for a Ray and Mike sub right now.
Come to Ray and Mike's and try our Philly chicken with cheese for just over $4, giant cheesesteak subs, and mouth-watering boar's head sandwiches for as low as $4.75. Q-Cash accepted just a mile down the road on Whitney, here at Ray and Mike's.
Wednesday afternoon, the Quinnipiac women's lacrosse team traveled to Monmouth following their first win of the season against Manhattan last Saturday. Both teams were looking to improve to 2-0 in conference play. The Hawks scored 5 straight first-half goals to break a 2-2 tie and held a 7-3 advantage at halftime. Things would get worse for the Bobcats as Monmouth opened the second half with 2 goals. Down 9-3, Quinnipiac put together a 6-goal run to tie it up at 9 with just under 8 minutes to play. But it was Monmouth's Kaylee Gibbons who scored the game winner with 6.5 minutes left. Despite the loss, the Bobcats still got good performances out of many of its players. Junior Kira Akwat led the Bobcats with 4 points, while senior Kelly Babstock pitched in 2 goals. Junior Samantha Tilts improved her MAC leading saves per game with 10 on the afternoon. With the loss, the Bobcats head into Sunday's game against the 3-time defending MAC champion Canisius Golden Griffins. But before we see the highlight, we're going to bring it in with our analyst, Arthur Bailin. And Arthur, what are your 3 keys to this game for Quinnipiac?
Well, let me preface this by saying Canisius is one of the better offensive teams in the conference this year. So the first thing they really have to do is win draws and keep the ball up the field. Like I said before, the offense is very strong, and no doubt that defense is going to get very tired going up against that Canisius attack. So they really need to keep the ball upfield, give the defense a little bit of a breather, and don't let the score get up that far. Second thing you have to do based on that is you have to neutralize their 2 highest scorers, and that would be Maria Kotis and Tori Quinn. Both of them have more. They definitely have the ability to beat Quinnipiac on their own if left unchecked. So they really have to work on that. And the third point I have to look at is Michaela Tinsley. Michaela Tinsley has not really been on the scoring run that she was last season, and that has hurt the Bobcats overall. And this is a perfect game for her to get started because Bobcats are not going to win in an offensive shootout. It's that simple. Canisius is too strong attacking, but she can certainly help the Bobcats offensively, and if the defense can hold up their side of the bargain, they can possibly look to match Canisius' goal total.
All right, well, let's look at the highlights. It's Quinnipiac and Canisius at the KU Turf Field in Hamden, Connecticut. Quinnipiac getting ready to face the 3-time defending MAC champions. And we'll start in the first half where it's Vicky Kuhn of Quinnipiac who intercepts a pass, takes it down the field. She gives the ball to Keeney Sneath, who will tie the game at 1. Good things going for Quinnipiac early.
That's a good transition goal by the Quinnipiac offense. Caught Canisius, the defense, a little bit on their heels, and that is something that you would like to see the Quinnipiac team do more often because it's very effective. Moments
later, it's Canisius' Maria Kotis who gets the pass from Tony Greco. Kotis runs up the sideline, passes the ball to Caroline Ogden, who then gives the ball to Taylor Giglio, and Canisius regains the lead at 3-2.
Now that's just inexcusable. You got to anticipate a play like that, especially with a player like Kotis. The Bobcats need to be a little more aware of that.
Later, it's Kotis who splits 2 defenders, takes the shot. Canisius up 7-6.
Kotis is such a good goal scorer. She can score from basically anywhere on the field.
In the second half, it's Kotis again. Spin move, gives the ball to Maria Cuddy. Cuddy scores. Canisius extends the lead to 3, 11-8.
A good spin move, create a little bit of space for her teammate there, pick up the goal.
Later for Quinnipiac, Alexandra Hilsiak gets the pass, runs up the field, goes all the way to the goal. They cut the lead to 12-11.
That's exactly what I was talking about before, the transition offense. She really created her own opportunity there.
And then moments later, for the Golden Griffins, it's Megan Cuddy who runs down the length of the field. She passes the ball to Ashley Bull. Bull scores on the knuckler to give the Canisius Golden Griffins a 19-13 lead. Canisius would then win 23-15. Maria Kotis registers 8 goals in the game.
Well, you saw on that play there, the goaltender filled up most of the net, so she decided to do a little bit of floater shot to get above the goaltender's head. So it's a difficult loss for the Bobcats, but it's one of those losses where it's a difficult team that they're playing against, Morey. Canisius is one of the better teams in the conference, especially with their offense. The Bobcats' defense hasn't been as strong as you would like to see in the past. So this game's not really surprising, but the fact that they were able to put a 15 against a team like Canisius is a good sign.
Now for Danny Caro's team moving forward, they have to get into 4th place to get into the playoffs. What are some rooms of improvement for the Bobcats as they come down the latter stretch of the season?
Well, I think defensively they need to improve, and I think that really showed in the game against Canisius. Like I said before, Canisius is a very strong offensive team, but that doesn't mean that 23 goals is excusable because you're not going to win a whole lot of games when you have 23 goals. It's just that simple. So you have to look for their players to be a lot stronger. And a couple players I have outlined here, Emily Samuelman, she has 14 cost turnovers. She can certainly play a big role. Something we were talking about before the show is Fidi LaPlante. She has 23 draw controls and 17 ground balls. Now, what I mean by draw controls is that she wins faceoffs. And I've said this all season. Faceoffs are incredibly important in lacrosse because if you win faceoffs, you can dictate the play. Now, actually, we were talking again before the show. The draw controls were a little bit different between the two halves in terms of the margin. In the first half, Canisius won the draw controls 9-8, so it was a fairly even set, and the score was 9-7 Canisius at the half, so it was fairly even. But in the second half, Quinnipiac lost the draw controls 15-8, and the score the Golden Griffins outscored the Bobcats 14-8 in the second half. So the bottom line is you can see the disparity there.
So Danny Carrick's team definitely has some work to do. They definitely have a slew of games to get back into playoff position and possibly win a MAC championship. Arthur, thank you very much for coming into the studio and breaking down the women's lacrosse team.
Anytime.
The men's tennis team defeated the St. Peter's Peacocks 6-1 on Saturday. Kei Izaka and Ryoma Haraguchi completed the sweep with an 8-7 win at number 2, outlasting the Peacocks' Carlos Carrera and Fabian Valdivieso in the tiebreak. Izaka and Haraguchi improved to 7-1 on the season when they are partnered together. With the win, the Bobcats halted a 5-game skid and are now 6-7 overall and 3-1 in MAC play. They take on Marist tomorrow at home at 3 p.m.
Now, Morey, on the women's side, they began the past week with a tough 5-2 loss in a non-conference battle against the University of Massachusetts. Sofia Dozlinski won the lone singles match for the Bobcats, and they were able to win in 2 of the 3 doubles matches. The Bobcats got back in the win column with a 7-0 sweep over St. Peter's. Michelle Daza and Jacqueline Rayner reached a milestone as they each earned their 50th career win when paired with each other in doubles matches. The next day, the Bobcats continued their winning ways with a 6-1 victory over the Pioneers of Sacred Heart. The 2 straight wins moved the Bobcats to 6-10 overall and 4-0 in the MAC. Now it's time to take another break here on Sports Paws. When we return, the baseball team looked to continue their season on a higher note against the Purple Eagles of Niagara. And also, our analysts will give you their top 5 spring athletes in our By the Numbers segment. You don't want to miss it. Stay tuned to Sports Paws.
The Bobcat Shop, located at 1010 Sherman Avenue in Hamden. Your #1 choice for Bobcat merchandise. The Bobcat Shop features 2 floors of countless styles and colors. With a full 19,000 square foot screen printing and embroidery operation on the premises, Campus Customs and Simplify can design and decorate any garment or promotional product as quickly as needed. Stop in and say hi.
I could really go for a Ray and Mike sub right now.
Come to Ray and Mike's and try our Philly chicken with cheese for just over $4, giant cheesesteak subs, and mouth-watering boar's head sandwiches for as low as $4.75. Q-Cash accepted just a mile down the road on Whitney, here at Ray and Mike's.
Welcome back to Sports Paws. The women's track and field team participated for 2 days in the Colonial Relays in Williamsburg, Virginia. Quinnipiac's highlight moment in the competition was their distance medley relay team, which earned 6th place out of the 19 teams competing. The Bobcats earned 11 points to finish the event in 28th place out of the 40 competing schools. The distance medley relay team featured Chelsea Savage, Tracy Campbell, Shamil Samuels, and Katie Petrie.
On Wednesday, the baseball team traveled to Dartmouth and cruised to an 11-5 win, hitting 4 home runs for the first time since 2009. Vincent Galletti, Scott Donahue, Nick Savali, and Ryan Nelson all went yard for the Bobcats. Nick Fabrizio, Matthew Osleja, and Gary Binkowitz came out of the pen for Quinnipiac and threw a combined 4 1/3 innings, yielding only 1 run on 4 hits. They continued their season against the Purple Eagles of Niagara. The Bobcats lost Game 1 5-2, but they rebounded, winning the next game 6-4. In Game 3 this morning, Donahue hit a 2-run double in the top of the ninth to break a 2-2 tie to give the Bobcats the series win. In the weekend, he led the way with 3 RBIs, while 6 other players drove in at least 1 run against Niagara. We're going to send it over to our analyst, Jordan Siegler, for our By the Numbers segment, where Jordan will give us his top 5 spring athletes according to the numbers.
Thanks, Morey. Welcome, everyone, to By the Numbers. So the spring season is full of extremely talented athletes, but I've narrowed it down to my top 5 athletes this spring by the numbers. But before I start, I have one honorable mention. Women's lacrosse player, formerly of the top 10 nationally ranked women's ice hockey team, Kelly Babstock. Babstock joined the lacrosse team 5 games into the season, but in the 5 games since has already surpassed all of her teammates besides Kira Aquat in points. Babstock has 14 points on the season and had 4 goals in the team's first win of the season against Manhattan. Now, starting off my list of top 5 is junior softball player Nikki Barba. Barba leads the team in hits and batting average, hitting almost 400 this season. Another great statistic is her strikeouts. Those have been a problem for the Bobcats this year, as they have struck out 133 times, contributing to their 7-22 record. However, Barba has only struck out 6 times this season. This shows her tremendous ability to get on base, which is extremely important because at its basics, softball is about scoring runs, and one of the best ways to do that is to get on base. Barba's ability to get on base has put her team in position to score runs, and that earns her a spot on this list. Now I'm going to move to the other diamond for my next athlete, and I'm going to highlight Vin Galletti of the baseball team. This is a team that struggled early on, but has come on strong as of late. They were 2-13 before March 22nd matchup with Manhattan. Since then, the team is 5-3, while Galletti leads the team in almost every major category. It's his performance over those last 8 games that puts him in the top 5. Galletti has hit over 300 with a home run over that stretch to push the Bobcats, and he also has 8 RBIs during that time, which accounts for half of his total RBIs on the season. Next one on my list comes from the women's lacrosse team, and it's Kira Aquat. She's on this list simply because of her ability to score. The women's lacrosse team has struggled this season to a 1-9 record, but Aquat's still finding ways to score. She's leading the team by a mile with 36 points on 25 goals and 11 assists. Aquat's scoring ranks top 5 in the MAC, and she's also accounted for almost a third of the team's total scoring this season. Now for the last two athletes on my list, I'm going to go to the men's lacrosse team. Now, this team has easily been the best spring sports team this year, as they're the only ones with a record above 500. Therefore, the final 2 entrants on my list are from this team. The first one is junior Michael Siegler. In the team's 5 wins this season, Siegler has averaged about 4.5 points. That accounts for almost 50% of the team's total points in those games. Now, we knew going into the season that Siegler was going to be a key player for this team, and so far this season, he's shown that he is just that. Now, the last person on my list is going to be goalie Gil Connors. The number one reason Connors is on this list is his save percentage. While the save percentage itself is an impressive 61.7, it's not necessarily the number that jumps out. It's the fact that the number is the best in the country. That's right, Connors' save percentage is the best in the nation. Connors' defense has been huge for the Bobcats this season, especially in their 2 one-goal victories this season, and he's also held their opponents to under 10 goals in 5 of the team's 8 games. So there you have it. Those are my top 5 spring athletes by the numbers. They are Nikki Barba, Vin Galletti, Kira Aquat, Michael Siegler, and Gil Connors.
Now, you mentioned Nikki Barba's ability to get on base, helping her team score runs, but the softball team hasn't scored a lot of runs, which is why their record is not very good. Could you just elaborate on your reasoning for putting Barba on the list?
Well, Morey, just because the team isn't scoring runs doesn't necessarily minimize Barba's contribution. Now, she's doing a great job getting on base, but the team's just not doing a good job of bringing her in. So that's why she's on this list. She's doing a great job of getting on base, putting her team in position to score runs, but then it's the other player's job to bring her in, which is why they're not doing so well this year.
Now, Jordan, you didn't put your top 5 in any particular order, but is there one player that you think is the overall number 1 athlete?
Well, more, I'm going to have to go with Gil Connors as my number 1 athlete. Again, I'm going to go back to the statistic, his save percentage. It's the best in the country. It's hard to argue with that. And also, again, this has been the best team during this spring season. So right there, and one of the big reasons that they're doing so well is defense. Gil Connors is the leader on that defense. And so for that reason, I'm going to go with Gil Connors as my top athlete.
You made Kelly Babstock an honorable mention. What kept her out of the top 5?
Well, look, Kelly Babstock has done great in her 5 games with the women's lacrosse team. But the big issue here is that she's only played in 5 games. The team has played 10 games. So for me, it was hard for me to put, an athlete who hasn't played in all of her team's games, in the top 5 over athletes who have played in all of their team's games. So for the simple reason that Babstock just simply hasn't played in all of the women's lacrosse team's games this season, that's why I had to keep her off the list. But I had to make her an honorable mention because the fact that she's already the team's second leading scorer is huge.
Well, thank you very much, Jordan. And while the hockey season has ended, we continue to see many players moving up to the next level. Last week, we reported that Bryce Van Braben has signed with the Calgary Flames. Well, after having his name stitched on the back of a Flames jersey, Van Braben made his NHL debut in Toronto against the Maple Leafs on Tuesday night. He skated on the ice for 10 shifts, playing 5.5 minutes in the game. He spent an additional 2 minutes in the penalty box for the first time due to a high sticking penalty. The Flames suffered a loss to the Maple Leafs, but they also brought in another Quinnipiac senior. Zach Tolkinen was signed by the American Hockey League's Abbotsford Heat, the minor league affiliate of the Calgary Flames. The signings continued as both Connor and Kellen Jones have signed contracts to play for the AHL's Oklahoma City Barons for the 2014-2015 season. The Barons are the top affiliate of the NHL's Edmonton Oilers.
Well, Tom, another edition of Sports Paws is in the books.
Yes, it is, Morey, and I can't believe how quickly this year has been going, and we only have a couple episodes left.
And Sports Paws continues to provide updates on everything you need to know about Quinnipiac athletics.
Make sure you continue to follow us on Twitter at Q30 Sports and check out all of our sports content and more on our website, q30television.com.
He's Tom Albanese, and I'm Morey Hershgordon. Have a good night, everybody.